Hey everyone, Irene Line here. Welcome to this video, to this channel, and to this entire world of healing trauma, nervous system health, and all things neuroplasticity. I just finished an interview chat with Sarah Kleiner, also known as Carnivore Yogi. We did a round one about a year ago in 2021. And I wanted to have her back on because she has become an expert, or she is learning to be an expert around circadian biology and the whole world of quantum light and why it is so important for us humans to be outside in the sunlight, in natural light. Now, I'm not saying that these devices aren't good and that we shouldn't keep using technology, but I do know that technology is here to stay, and we need to counterbalance this world with the natural world. So her story is pretty significant in how her health has shifted from adding in these, we could even call them biohacks of light and being in nature and utilizing the sun in a real specific way. So have a listen. And I also wanted to make note, she will be doing a webinar, good old-fashioned webinar, on April 10th. All that information is below somewhere in the show more section or in the show notes section. If you catch this after April 10th, 2022, not to worry, you'll be able to check out that webinar after the fact. It is recorded, and that webinar will go deeper into the science and the specifics. So this interview with Sarah is really more of a basic outline. We touch on lots of things at a surface level, but I really wanted you guys to just get a little more information around this concept of circadian biology. So have a listen, enjoy, and take notes. And if you have any questions, ask. I'll make sure that we monitor those questions and Sarah can come in and answer them for you. All right, bye for now. Miss Sarah, hello.
Hi, Irene.
Welcome back.
Thank you for having me. It's always fun to get to have an excuse to chat with you.
Totally, ditto. So we talked last year in 2021,
Yes.
talking about your journey, and we won't go into it now because people can listen to that and all that's on your site too, but you were really in and working with the carnivore diet,
Yes.
which was beneficial for you 100%.
Yes,
I think you can
definitely.
still, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think you said very shortly after our last talk, you got into this light stuff.
Yes.
And I want to just start there. Like, what was one of the first things that led you to that? And, obviously share as much as you can or would like to. But what was like the thing that turned you towards the sun?
Yeah, well, oddly enough, I had actually just finished SmartBody Smartmind. It was right about that time that it finished.
Right.
I just had gotten to a place, in 2020, I had gained about 20 pounds. And it wasn't like, the worst thing in the world that ever happened to me, but it was a little annoying. And I just
Mm-hmm.
started to feel a little bit more like I was feeling like my age. And I was like, okay, I feel like there's something that I'm missing, that there's something that I need to change. And
Mm-hmm.
having my own podcast, I actually had a follower reach out to me and she was like, hey, would you like to interview Dr. Jack Cruz? And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, he was on my wish list of people that I wanted to interview when I first had started a podcast. And so I talked,
Ah,
yeah, it was like
I
I
was
had put it out there and someone just messaged me and was like, hey, do you want to talk to Dr. Cruz? And I was like, yeah.
So for those that don't know who Dr. Cruz is, and he would have been the first interview I watched with you, your interview that led me into this, but give a little, like, let's give him a little plug.
Yeah, I mean, he is a neurosurgeon and he basically discovered quantum health as after being in surgery for, 20 plus years and found himself 350 pounds, like just really overweight, really, yeah, very unhealthy. And
Oh,
started making the correlation between the fact that he was working night shift and also underneath lights in the emergency room and in surgeries that were these toxic blue lights. And he started studying more and more about quantum physics and circadian biology and basically transformed everything that he teaches and how he works with patients. And I mean, if you go and read his blog, it's literally, I feel like you have to have some sort of an advanced degree to be able to decipher these blogs, because he bulletproofs everything he puts out there. He, a lot of what I talk about with quantum physics and circadian biology, I do get accused of being woo woo and it being, BS and too good to be true or weird. If you want to poke holes in anything that I say, it is backed up on his blog. Now you
go to the grandpa.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He doesn't say anything unless he backs it up. And so his work has transformed the lives of so many people that I know and that I've actually gotten the pleasure of meeting. He talks a lot about cold thermogenesis. He was actually able to lose all the weight that he wanted to lose using circadian biology, using cold thermogenesis, using light. And so he really teaches a lot about that, about how to transform your health. And the thing about Dr. Cruz is he's not pro any specific diet. He kind of teaches an epipaleo diet, which is, seafood, meat, fat, and then seasonal eating. So in the summertime, if there is in your latitude growing fruit, have the fruit.
Berries.
But during the winter time, that stuff is not growing. You can't find an orange growing in most latitudes during the winter. You can't find a lot of these fruits that a lot of us are eating, and bananas in December. It's not ancestrally appropriate. So he really teaches about the fact that food is light code. And when I talked with him, it just transformed the way that I was thinking about light, my light environment, just everything that I was doing. I'm like, that's why I have gained this weight. It made me stop and think like, gosh, I've been so psychotic about my diet and just, eliminate all these foods. And what if I have been totally missing the boat on my whole lifestyle? I didn't change the way that I was eating when I put that weight on. But what I did change is I was afraid. I was not going outside. I wasn't, I wasn't going to see sunrise. I wasn't going to take walks outside as much as I had been. I wasn't working anymore. And so and I was watching TV all the time, and I was on my phone all the time and on my device all the time, trying to, get my YouTube channel and all that stuff going. And I'm like, holy crap, when Dr. Cruz explained to me what this artificial light does to the body, how it stresses us out, how it gives the body an incorrect circadian signal, I realized that what I had done to myself in 2020 was really, really damage my mitochondria through just transforming my life into this indoor, on my computer lifestyle. And so that really just lit a fire underneath me, that conversation, and it shifted everything about how I think about food, how I think about life, how I think about light. All of those things just really shifted for me.
Thanks for that. And my sense is you were very, as you said, immaculate with your diet. And it doesn't even matter what you were eating. Like my gut is you weren't overeating, you weren't eating crap. And so why is this weight gain and this, I would say you probably felt a little less good.
Yeah, I did.
Why is this occurring? And before I got on to talk to you, I was thinking about my old life. So before I moved back to Vancouver here, and before my current husband, it's like Irene's second life or first life, I was in the outdoors. I was married to a mountaineer, worked on hills. I walked to work through the forest all the time. When I worked out at this gym, there was a deck that I would always go out onto and work out on. And it was just this beautiful vista of, and man, I think about, and of course I wasn't doing online business. Sure, I was on a computer, but it wasn't like first thing in the morning. It was when I was at work for very specific periods of time, and then you'd be home and you wouldn't be on a computer.
Right.
And so it's kind of, as I start to think about that world, and now it's like night and day. So just as a little information, when I started learning from you, and I want to hear more of obviously your story and the things that you've done, I started implementing some of these things, like going outside in the morning without my contacts, because I wear contacts.
Yep.
And I have since I was like in grade 5. And they have like a UV protection thing in them. And so the first day I went out without my glasses, I actually like tripped on a ledge and twisted
Oh
my
no.
ankle. And it was fine. It wasn't like a bad sprain, but it's because I actually have really poor eyesight, and I wasn't used to walking without lenses in. But now, 6 months later, I can totally tell what's around me, and I know where things are, and the depth of
Oh, that's
perception is
good.
better. But it made me realize, holy cow, I have hardly been outside without lenses in since I was in grade 4.
Right. Yeah.
So tell me more about the mitochondria. Tell me more about the sun. And I know there's a lot here, but give me a little crash course in
Yeah,
that.
well, essentially, what happens when we're wearing contacts or glasses or sunglasses, which a lot of people are
Yes.
wearing, is that there's receptors in our eye. It's called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, and it's attached
Hmm.
to the hypothalamus, and we get the
Hmm.
signal of light through our eyes that tells suprachiasmatic nucleus make specific hormones. That is the signal, and that's why circadian rhythms and circadian biology is so important, because it's telling us in the morning when we wake up, turn off melatonin, turn on cortisol. UVA light, which happens, 30 to 45 minutes after sunrise, is what tells our body to make serotonin, dopamine, tryptophan, tyrosine, pregnenolone, which is the master sex hormone. That is synthesized with that light signal coming into our eyes. And what are most people doing when they first wake up in the morning? Right at the phone, right? And so
Yeah.
the signal that you're getting from your phone is equivalent to a signal that you would be getting like at noontime from the sun. And so a lot of people are waking up and getting this huge cortisol spike, not to mention
Hmm.
dopamine from looking at emails, looking at, all these different things.
The
Right.
stress.
It's
Yeah.
stressful. And
Yeah.
so, just that alone, having that mismatch is enough to start slowing down mitochondrial function. And we all, after we get over the age of 25, our mitochondria, it does slow down. It's part of the aging process.
Hmm.
But we have
Hmm.
this amazing thing called nature that's free and available to us, that allows us to recharge our body battery. So our body is essentially a battery. And there's a great book called The Body Electric that is a really good read if you want to understand how it was discovered that the body has a DC electric current. And we essentially lose that charge as we get older, as we age. But ways that we can recharge our body battery are through grounding, going outside barefoot, or if you are not in a good area for grounding, you can get grounding shoes. There's a company called Harmony 783, and I wear those shoes hiking.
Right.
I love them. So you can use grounding
Cool.
shoes. UV light on your skin, red light. Red light therapy is like a huge, huge topic. That
Yeah.
actually increases mitochondrial function and takes inflammation down. But we can get that naturally from the sun, which most of us have been taught to
Hmm.
fear. And unfortunately, it's slowing down our
Oh,
mitochondria.
it's a pretty big thing. I was actually the fear of the
Yeah.
sun, Sarah. Um, I my heritage is half
Mm.
Filipino, so I've got genetics that want that sun. And interestingly enough, and this is kind of another side conversation, but when I started taking seed oils out of my diet last year around this time,
Yeah.
because of you, thank you very much. I noticed last year when I was in the sun, and I was in the sun a lot, I never got freckles, and I usually always get freckles in the sun, and I never burned. And I tested it. I'm like, I'm going to sit out here. I'm going to be by this lake, by this river with no sunscreen on, never
Yeah.
burned.
Yeah.
Now, of course, if I was to go to maybe Costa Rica, maybe I get a little bit of a burn because that's just a lot. But in my latitude that I'm used to, I was astounded. But The reason for that is I was on a show, not a show, I was on a Q&A call that I was doing for my stuff. And I'm trying to drop the sun thing in as much as I can. And I said to folk, nature is so important. We are nature as well. Like, yes, we're not the flowers and the plants and the animals, but we're animals. Yes. And some people don't like to hear that, but one individual, just a random comment, said, the sun is toxic. I get away from it as much as I can. And I understand that fear because I've seen folk in my world cover up, slather on the sunscreen, don't expose the skin. Where did that fear come from your learnings with all of your mentors? Like, I think I remember hearing Corey or someone talk about that. But where did this idea that the sun is toxic and bad come from?
Well, I think a lot of it is pharmaceutical companies. It's just been medicalized that, and there's a lot of interest in sunscreen companies as well. It's kind of this feedback loop of, we're going to donate money to cancer research and then we're going to say we prevent cancer. And then, so there's a lot of that going on as well. And I'm not trying to sound like somebody who's just, there's a lot of corruption at that level. For sure. But, there's a lot of misunderstanding about the sun too, which is why I try to provide education through my webinars. Like the one I have coming up is just going to be all about how to do safe sun exposure, because if you don't precondition your skin with the sunrise, the red light from the sun in the morning with your eyes and skin, and you just go out in the middle of the day and just lay out in the sun, you can definitely burn, you can definitely damage your skin. If you're wearing sunglasses, you can definitely damage your skin, because what I said about that the melanopsin receptors, 90% of the melanopsin receptors are in the eye. So your body needs to get the signal of like the actual brightness so that your skin can produce enough melanopsin so that you don't burn so badly. And there's apps like the D-Minder app. I teach people how to use that. And so you can put in your skin type and build up your solar callus. So you can damage your skin from the sun if you don't do it properly, if you do it too much. If you're from Canada and you go to Costa Rica and try to just stay out in the sun all day without a solar callus, you definitely can. So it's not all, conspiracy theory, whatever. There is some validity to the sun. If you're not using it properly, it can cause issues for you. But we've just never been taught how to utilize the sun, what a solar callus is, what type of skin type do we have, and how do we approach, like it's right now, March here. I've been getting out in the sun since February because I live in Georgia, so I can do that. But I've been laying out on my deck just in the February sun in what's called a kaniki, which is like a tan through bikini. So I've been sunbathing since end of February. And so I'm building that up. So when it gets to be summer, I can stay out as long as I want to and not burn. So there's definitely a way to do it safely, because there are people who can hurt their skin through the sun, for sure.
One thing I've been doing, and I'll just share this, is since we're here in March, as you are as well, obviously, and it's Vancouver, so we're in Canada, I have been going out all winter without my glasses and contacts. I keep my glasses in my pocket just in case, to make sure a bicyclist isn't coming by. But I will take my raincoat, because it's often raining, but I'll tie it around my waist and I'll roll up my sleeves as much as I can. And by the time I get warm, I actually can take that fleece off and just be in a tank top. And my neighbor the other day, she was like, "You're pretty brave out there, I'm like, well, it is cold, but I'm just trying to get the light on my skin. And so I want to just verify it doesn't have to be direct sunlight. It's just the natural light.
Yeah, for your circadian rhythms, it's just getting the light signal, honestly. Just being out at sunrise, getting some UVA light, because those are two separate things. And then just trying to be out in the middle of the day. You want to go outside as much as you can, even if you're working on a computer. What I tell my office workers take light breaks. Like I'm sitting here, I have what's called Iris software on my computer and have my window open to balance out some of that blue light. And I will be going out. I was outside before this conversation. I'll go outside after. So take light breaks throughout the day, even if it's 5 minutes here and there, just so your body knows what time it is. For vitamin D synthesis, it's a different story. You do have to lay out, kind of let your body be a solar panel. But a lot of places, I mean, we've had D all year, the UVB rays, but in Canada, I don't know if you guys even have D yet. It might be.
I haven't, and for everyone listening, we'll put all these resources in the show notes, but that D-Minder app, I've actually never downloaded it, but I'm pretty darn sure we don't have anything D related until we get into April, maybe May.
Yeah.
But I'll have to verify that. But vitamin D is a whole other story that we'll have to have another time.
Yeah.
So I want to come back to your discovery, and when did you start to notice the shifts in your body with these little changes? Because my sense is they were little that added up.
Yeah, I started with sunrise because that was the thing that Dr. Cruz told me, start with that. And then I had interviewed Dr. Hunt and started working with her. And she was like, you have to start doing sunrise every single day. And I was hesitant because I just kind of was like, what is that going to do? But, because I think people are like,
thanks for being honest.
Yeah, like, I'm going to go outside every morning. Okay. It just doesn't sound like it's going to do anything. However, I started having more energy, and I started, instead of just sitting outside, I wanted to be walking as the sun came up. Because at first it was just me just sitting, okay. And then after maybe a few weeks, I wanted to be walking. And then I found myself just being more active throughout the day. I found the more light that I was getting, the less hungry that I was. Kind of my appetite changed completely. My metabolism shifted. I started just literally feeling like I had more energy. And that was the first thing that I noticed because, like I said, I was starting to feel like I'll be 43 in June. I started to really be like, I feel like I'm in my 40s, just energy wise. And I chalked it up to having a special needs child and just having to do a lot for her. But that's not what it was. It was that my mitochondrial function was slowing down, and I needed to do some natural, easy, free things to get it working again. And so that was the biggest thing I noticed, was a big shift in energy. And then this, I didn't want to miss the sunrise. The funniest thing is I remember having a nightmare, and my nightmare was that I had missed the sunrise. And then I was like, wow, I have really turned a corner here. If this is what's a nightmare for me is missing sunrise.
Well, if we think about animals, again, I always think of the animals, and especially birds. And I wish I could study all the animal species, so this is going to be a very botched way of saying it, but those birds aren't sleeping in,
Right.
If you're having a hard night sleeping, that it's close to morning when you start to hear the birds chirping. And they're just up. No one's telling them to get up. It's because they're with the rhythm of the world. And then here's us human animals that have created these beautiful, I love my home. I like hot water and heat and all those things, but we're just not connected to that nature anymore. And I can definitely tell you that it is a mild addiction getting out in the morning. And I'm still working at the sunrise thing. I mentioned that to you. I am a night owl. So for me to get up, especially in the summer at 4:30, that just seems like crazy. And who knows, maybe that'll shift. But even my husband, Seth, who you know through SmartBody Smartmind, and I think he'd be okay with me saying this, he's been struggling to use, the last few pounds of his trauma world. And we sleep in separate rooms. We have for 10 years, and it's awesome. And I know that he is looking at his phone right before he goes to bed, or he used to, and the moment he gets up, he would get on it.
Yep.
And I had to, thankful that you started teaching this stuff. And I shared, I think it was the Cruz episode, about the dangers of just looking at your phone. And that was finally what made him go, okay, maybe I should try this.
Yes.
And he would get outside. He wouldn't really walk, but he'll just stand there, and he'll sometimes walk. He has noticed a drastic decrease in the excess fat that he had, energy, and it's 100% accurate, all of it. It isn't just, random.
Yeah.
So, and now he said to me the other day, he had to look at his phone for some reason first thing. I think it was a work-related thing. And he felt sick to his stomach.
Yeah, that spike of cortisol.
He felt it, like it had been so different for so long. He looked and he could feel the physiological impact. So I thought that was cool.
The other thing that I was experiencing was that my blood glucose, because I have all these monitors and things, my blood glucose was elevated in the mornings, and I just saw that it was higher, and I was like, my diet's not doing this. I know it's not. What the heck is going on? And when I shifted my relationship with light, I started seeing sunrise. I wasn't looking at my phone. And when I do look at my phone, the screen is red. I use color filters, so it's red. I use blue blockers, when I'm inside under artificial lights. And if I'm going to look at my phone after sunset, I'm wearing blue blockers and the phone is red. So I don't block the ability of my body to make melatonin. But my blood glucose has completely gone back to where it was, which was like in the 70s, just humming nice in there, not waking up in the 90s and low 100s. I was like, what is this? But there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of science that shows in the absence of food that blue light can make your glucose higher, blood glucose higher. There was a study that I just posted on my Instagram recently that just 3 weeks of a disrupted light environment, so a lot of artificial light disrupting your melatonin at night, that led to an 8% decrease in resting metabolic rate, which over a year is like a 13-pound weight gain.
That's huge.
And those people in the study also, were eating the same meals as they were before the study. They had blood glucose levels of pre-diabetics, all of them. And it was from artificial light at night and this disrupted circadian rhythm. And I was like, yep, there it is, But we focus so much on diet, and that's what I had done for so long. I'm like, I feel like a lot of us are kind of missing the boat here and not looking at this more low-hanging fruit of things that we can do.
And the blood glucose thing is, I think, not talked about enough in some ways. And I don't want to go into a whole element of that, but can you just break down why simply it's super important for our blood glucose levels to not be spiking in those ways, and what that means for the metabolic system, if you can?
Yeah, it's just creating inflammation in the body. It's just creating damage in the body. That's why we don't want to be pre-diabetic. We don't want to be diabetic, because it's creating inflammation, damage, and that's going to lead to more illness, more mitochondrial dysfunction. And yeah, it's not good. That's why I check my blood glucose, because I do have a lot of diabetes in the family. And it's always been a concern of mine. So when I started to see that, it was alarming to me, because I don't want to have that kind of damage and inflammation in my body.
Yeah, it's a big one, diabetes. It's so not good for the human system.
No.
Tell me a little bit more about what this idea of a perfect quantum day is. And I know we've already touched on it, but what would that look like, and what does that mean?
Yeah, for me, it's really just optimizing my day around light. And my typical routine, no matter what time of year it is going to be wake up. I do like to meditate when I first wake up, because my body naturally wakes up about 20-30 minutes before sunrise. And I meditate for about 20 minutes, and then I will put on my blue blockers, the red ones, walk through the house and go straight outside, take off the blue blockers and sit outside and just watch the sun come up. And a lot of times I will also eat breakfast, and I'll take food outside and eat a nice protein and fat breakfast to stabilize my blood glucose and give my body that really strong signal along with the light, give myself the food as well. I used to skip breakfast. I no longer do that. Then, some kind of walking if I have time. A lot of times I have to take my daughter to school and start working. But just throughout the day, taking that time to go outside. I love grounding. I love being outside barefoot. So even though I have to work a lot during the day, I'm always trying to find time to go outside. I'm always trying to find time to, if I can, take a walk, walking after meals. And I do have a couple devices. I have a red light therapy device, which I love. And I'll if I can use that for 20 minutes a day, I love to. In the winter time, I do use a SmartBody vitamin D lamp. And I used it all winter. I'm going to make a YouTube video about this. Maybe this will light a fire under me to actually make the video.
Please, yeah.
But I did not take any vitamin D supplements all winter because I was in, Dr. Cruz and all his crew is like, those don't take vitamin D supplements, not good for you. So I quit. Used the lamp all winter, used my red light therapy all winter, and I just tested my levels at the beginning of March, and my levels were 60, which is pretty darn good coming out of winter, I think.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Do you know what the optimal is? Is it 100 or?
No. What they say, low is around 25. That's, yeah. Cruz says 60 should be a minimum. Some people say 60 is a little bit high, but Cruz says 60 is about a minimum. Most doctors will say between 25 and 50 is good. So
interesting.
Yeah, everyone kind of has a different opinion on it. But last summer, I didn't use any supplements. All I did was lay out in the sun, and my levels were over 100.
Wow.
Yeah, naturally. So
yeah. I had mine checked maybe 4 weeks ago, and it was 70.
Oh, that's good.
And I was actually stunned. So I will admit I do have a vitamin D supplement, but it's not synthetic. It's a mushroom-based thing.
Interesting.
It's through a Touchstone Essentials, which does a zeolite product that I also recommend to folks. So I'll put that in the link areas along with everything you're saying, because yes, I never felt right taking synthetic D.
Yeah.
But and maybe I should look into this more, but my body, my muscle testing qualities, when I feel this supplement, it feels very natural and very organic to the earth because it's a mushroom.
Interesting.
So I could share that with you if you'd like.
Never heard of that.
And then the red light and the D lamp, speak a little bit about that. And I've actually been in contact with Chris.
Oh, yeah.
So we're gonna have a chat, and he's like, I'm getting better at interviews. I'm like, don't worry. But I did get I got both of those out of your recommendation, and I have been using them over the winter. So that's
also probably why your levels are so good. And you're in Canada where it's really cold, and the cold actually allows your body to store more vitamin D, believe it or not. Yeah.
Do you know how that happens?
It's an adaptation. I mean, think about it. When we didn't have vitamin D supplements, we didn't have vitamin D lamps when we, if you're northern descent, northern
and
they they still had good vitamin D levels because our liver has the capability to store vitamin D. But if we're under too much stress, if we're not adapting to the environment that we're in, which you're in a cold environment and you go outside often, then you're not going to be able to store as much. So I think the fact that you're in Canada, and cold is an electroconductor as well. So all this mitochondrial talk is all about how well your body can hold electric charge and how well you're actually charging your body. And cold is an amazing, it's an amazing way to charge your body. So I think that could definitely play a part for you as well.
That's great to know.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And we do have a sauna and a cold plunge.
Yes.
And I know that we've talked about this, and I've done videos on cold therapy, and it's not something I recommend for everyone, depending on your nervous system regulation. But I use it for that reason, and also because of my orthopedic injuries. I have so many knee surgeries from the past that cold combined with hot is a wonderful way to just get that circulation going in the joint where I have, zero cartilage.
Yeah.
So
It's
it's
amazing for
important.
pain. And, speaking of the
Yeah.
whole quantum day thing, in the winter time, I do cold therapy. I do it in the morning because that's really the
Hmm.
optimal time to do it, I think, because what cold therapy does is it raises your body temperature up, which is crazy
Hmm.
to think about because you're getting in cold, but it raises your body temperature up. And so ideally, you want your body temperature starting at the middle of the day to start to go down because when we sleep,
Hmm.
our body gets the coldest it's going to get in our
Cold.
sleep, right? So,
And we want it to be
right,
cold.
we want our body temperature to
Yeah.
drop because we're recovering, we're going undergoing autophagy and apoptosis and all that stuff in our sleep. So, when I did the cold therapy during winter, I'm not doing it so much now because it's starting to shift to spring and summer. It was always in the
Hmm.
morning time. And now, going towards spring and summer is the time to start doing a little bit more sauna and doing more heat therapy.
So counterintuitive,
It
isn't
really
it? We
is.
think the winter getting hot and summer getting cold. Um, it's just fascinating to me. And you just mentioned two words that people might not know. So autophagy and
Hmm.
apoptosis. Apoptosis, from my remembrance of cell biology, is just cell
Yes.
death. It's we want certain cells to be
Yes.
killed in our bodies so that they don't become, for example,
Cancerous.
cancerous,
Yes.
right? And then autophagy, I'm learning these words, so tell me if I get this right, is basically cell cleaning.
Yes. Yes.
Anything else you'd add to
Well, we
that?
need melatonin for those processes to take place. So
Oh.
if we are, and going back to the quantum day thing, I stop eating before sunset, which is a little more tricky in winter time, but I make it happen.
Hmm.
But the reason why you don't want to eat after sunset is because that will elicit a cortisol response. And anything that elicits a cortisol response is going to block your body's ability to make melatonin. So eating, as much as some people like to do before bed, and I get it,
Yeah. Yep.
you're blocking that melatonin production. That's why my whole house at night is very dim. I have special light bulbs. It's kind of freaky looking. It looks like Amsterdam. If you look at my house from the outside, it looks like the red light district. But that's just how we keep the house at night. Blue blockers. I put a screen over the TV. If anyone's gonna be watching the TV, I have a red screen that my friend Phil is. It's called Shop Wakan, WAKN. And you can get a screen to go over your TV because if your family members are stubborn and won't wear blue blockers, you can. That's what I do. So I do all of that stuff not to just be a weirdo, but because I want my body to be able to make melatonin so I
Yeah.
can repair in my sleep, so I can undergo autophagy and apoptosis, right?
Makes sense. And you are hardcore, my dear, and I commend you for it. Where the eating, not eating after sunset is tough in our little family
Yeah.
here because we are more European in nature and we like to eat a little
Yep.
late. But I will say I've been trying to get better at not having anything obviously right before bed, unless I'm
Yeah.
hungry. Like unless we did eat a little earlier, I found that if I'm starving going to bed, that doesn't work either for
Yeah. A
me
lot of people
personally.
do
So
have
I
a hard
think,
time with that. Yeah. That's where
yeah.
being a little bit
So,
more like fat adapted does help with that because if that really helps you go longer without eating and not have as much hunger. But even if you are
yeah,
fat adapted, sometimes people can get hungry, and I'm like, have something that's not going to spike your insulin. Have like just a little bit of fat, some, yeah,
fat.
if you
Yeah,
eat things like almond butters, have a spoonful of almond butter, something like
yeah,
that before bed.
yeah. Sour cream,
Yeah,
something
cream
like that that's
cheese,
really
yeah,
rich.
exactly, yeah.
Hmm. And then I think the other thing that I'll bring attention to is just this is also individual
Hmm.
too, and that you've been doing this over a year. I mean, time-wise, where we are right now in March, and I just want to really encourage folks to try some of these little. This is where I would say these are little biohacks. They're like nature
Yes.
hacks. And I'm a big believer in not biohacking nervous system
Yes.
regulation. And I know we both agree with that. But this is something to me that is a good hack because it's quite simple and you don't need a lot of shifts to make a huge
Yes,
difference.
I agree. And I don't even think I mentioned this, but I actually ended up losing 30 pounds last year from making these changes. And again, not dramatically changing my diet, not doing anything crazy.
Yeah.
It was the light helped regulate my appetite. So I probably was eating a little bit less, but I wasn't feeling hungry. I wasn't forcing myself or counting calories or starving myself or forcing workouts or anything like that. I was literally just doing sunrise, sunshine, sunset, and then wearing blue blockers when I could, when I should, and yeah, kept it real simple. Barefoot walking outside as
Yeah.
much as I could,
Yeah.
and yeah, I was able to lose the stubborn weight that I thought was just a product of getting older, and it turns out it was just, yeah, my environment.
Yeah. You look great.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. And I'm super glad to know your journey and share this with folk because I do know there are many that struggle with that. And the diet thing is just not enough. And
Yeah.
I started my career in fitness and in nutrition in my 20s. I left that world because I intuitively knew there's something more
Yeah.
to human. And yes, it's important. We have to exercise and we need to eat whole food and good food and all that. But so many are already doing that.
Yes.
And then a lot of people might be doing my nervous system stuff because they're here watching this. And yes, do that. And then if there's still this fatigue thing plaguing you,
Mm-hmm.
sleep trouble, and you know that you're working on your shit and your traumas and all those sorts of things, it's like check the light stuff out because
Yeah.
it's just where we're meant to be, I believe.
I agree. And the thing with the food is if you had asked me over a year ago kind of how much I thought nutrition played into overall health, I would have given you this real high percentage. Now, knowing what I know and
Mhm.
experiencing what I've experienced with myself and also with a ton of clients, mostly women in their 40s, 50s and 60s, where I
Mhm.
feel like that is the hardest time in your life to lose weight. They've dropped weight, they feel amazing, and I think now it's more like food is like 33% of the equation,
Yeah.
and the rest of it really is your light environment and
Mhm.
doing programs like yourself to work on trauma because those things are
Mhm.
also stressing out and slowing down the system as you talk about so eloquently.
100%. Um, oh, there was one other thought I had, and now it's left my brain. Oh, the window being open.
Yes.
Tell me, because someone might be like, what difference does it make if I crack a window? And when I was listening to one of your chats, I can't remember who it was with. It might have been Cruz. He mentioned or she mentioned always crack a window when you're
Yes.
driving.
Always.
And I have been doing that, I don't know how long, and it drove him nuts. Not
Same.
anymore, because I want the windows all down, even when it's raining
I'm
outside.
the
He's like,
same.
Irene, this is insane. I'm like, I need the fresh air. And now I realize it's the sun, it's those rays. So
Yes.
tell everyone why that's a fun little biohack when you're in your house or in your car.
Well, light travels. I mean, even just a crack of a window being open. Now, it's not going to travel through glass. Most glass, they've engineered it to block out those beneficial rays. So you have to crack
Yeah.
it. But light can travel. And what it does
Hmm.
is if there's any blue light present, it's going to kind of balance that out to a certain extent.
Oh.
And it's also going to give your body the signal to know what time it is. So still go outside and get the fresh air, get the barefoot time.
Hmm.
But I keep most of the lights out in my house and keep the windows cracked during the
Yeah.
day because it's just giving your body an appropriate circadian signal. And also in your car, you are exposed to a lot of radiation when you're driving. And what the light
Hmm.
also does is it kind of creates an exclusion zone or kind of like a Faraday cage around your body. So it's
Hmm.
protective from a lot of that radiation as well to actually have the natural rays of the sun to shine down on you. Even if it's raining, even if it's cloudy,
Yeah.
you're still getting that
Yeah.
same benefit. Yeah.
Cool. So even if, like right now where I'm sitting, we have windows all around us, and I never have any lights on during the day, which is super cool.
Yes.
But like there's a window over there that if I open it, I'm not getting the rays, but from what you're saying, because of the
Yes.
refractory nature of light, this is my physics training, it will bounce.
Yes.
And if I open one over there in the kitchen, it will bounce and it'll almost cleanse the blue light. Is that what you're
It
saying?
balances it out. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, folks, you have your tricks to figure out and play with. Tell everyone, Sarah, about the webinar you're doing on the 10th of April. I know this is timely, but just what is it? And I have no doubt that people they can't get it if they listen to this interview like in June.
I'll have it
They'll probably still
available
be
for
able.
purchase. Yeah. Absolutely.
Awesome. So tell us about your webinar on the 10th of April.
Yeah, it's called Harnessing the Power of the Sun to Boost Your Metabolism. And there's actually a ton of science, and I'll always give a resource guide with any webinar to back up everything that I teach, that shows you that you can boost your metabolism using the sun. I want to teach people how to safely use the sun, as we were talking about. So no matter what type of skin you have, no matter where in the world you live, I want everybody to be able to tap into these benefits and actually boost their metabolism, start feeling better and having more energy, but again, in a safe way. And that's really what we're going to cover in that webinar.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yay. Yay.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts? Anything that you want to share that maybe we haven't touched on this topic, of course?
Yeah, I mean, just encourage everyone to just try it out because it is free and you can do it no matter where you live. Don't, try to talk yourself out of it. Don't say you can't do it. And don't be like me and like, why would I do that? That's stupid. Give it a chance because,
Yeah.
if you've tried a lot of different things with food or you've tried just all the things for your health, but you haven't tried this, give it a shot and be open-minded about it as well because there is a lot of science to back it up. You just have to search for it a bit more because a lot of it is something you have to search for. It's not just readily available like other things people want us to find.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing is human health is so cumulative and that even, the last 2 years put aside where so many were inside but even the fact that now we have so much delivered to our home, for example, we're not doing the commute to get the thing at the drugstore or at the bookstore. I don't know when the last time I walked to the bookstore. I don't even know if the bookstore is still in our city, to be honest. But I used to walk to the bookstore to buy a book, and now I'll just order it. And we're finding, I think we need to counterbalance. It's like, sure, get the deliveries. I think there's a convenience to that is very nice. And we got to balance it because I don't think that this blue light environment is going to go away anytime soon. And so it's kind of like this, I'll do this when I'm on holiday in Costa Rica and I'll just unplug from the devices. And I see a lot of people saying that I'm going to go on a detox from my devices. And it's like, that's fine, but how can you bring the devices into your world and balance it so that you don't have to crash and have like a month off?
Right, exactly.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it has to be a lifestyle and just do a little bit every day. I know I talked about a lot of things, but just a little change every single day. Just start with the sunrise. Just start with that. And I think you'll find that you're going to continue to have more energy, that you're going to continue to feel better and better, and then want to learn more and want to do more. But you don't have to do it all at once. Do it because I definitely haven't, but I've done this in a slow, gradual way to the point where I kind of weaved it into family life. And now it's just part of what we do is go hiking as a family now. Part of what we do is go for walks after dinner and walks after school and spend as much time outdoors as we can. We barely even turn on the TV. And that's changed, so you can be the one in your family to lead them because you're going to start feeling better. Your family's going to see that and then they're going to want to kind of follow along with you because that's what's happened in my family. And it's been really fun. It's been really cool to see the family transform like that.
Super. Well, this is an inspiration. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
all the links to the lamps and the D-Minder and obviously your site. Everyone follow Sarah either on YouTube or, of course, Instagram, your site. Check out this webinar. Is it a paid webinar?
Yes,
Just so
it
that
is. It's $45 US.
Great.
Yes.
Perfect. That is a steal for everything I think that you will be
Definitely.
teaching.
Yes.
So thank you, my dear. I'm sure we will talk again.